Let's talk now about getting all the money you need to start and build your own business and move yourself toward financial independence. There are three main reasons why people never follow their dreams to start their own businesses and achieve the financial independence they desire. The first reason is fear of failure, the single biggest reason for failure in adult life. Fear of failure settles in your solar plexus and paralyzes you, stopping you from even taking the first step. In order to be all you can be, including becoming a millionaire, the first thing you have to learn to do is to confront your fears. You must learn to control your fears, to master your fears, and to act in spite of your fears. The second major reason for financial underachievement and failure is just plain ignorance. Most people do not know how to start and build a business or how to invest in stocks, bonds, real estate, or other financial vehicles, and for some reason, they never bother to learn. They live lives of quiet desperation, admiring others who strike out on their own, but doing nothing themselves. They go to their graves with their music still in them. The third reason why people don't start and succeed in their own businesses is a perceived lack of money. They think that they don't have enough money, and they feel that they cannot get the money they need from other sources. Most aspiring would-be entrepreneurs go to their local banks to borrow money to fund their entrepreneurial ideas. When they are repeatedly turned down by the banks, they conclude that there is no money available for them. Having come to this conclusion, they just give up and go back to working for wages. As it happens, the most valuable assets you have are ambition, energy, imagination, and a burning desire for financial success. If you have these qualities, plus a willingness to work and sacrifice, you will eventually earn, attract, or acquire all the money you need. The fact is that money is available everywhere. There are several sources of money that you can tap to start and build your own business. In my entrepreneurial career, starting and building businesses over the years, I have used almost every one of them. Here they are. 1. Dip into your own savings. First, and usually the most important, is your own personal savings account. In earlier sessions, I emphasize how important it is for you to save money. If you cannot discipline yourself to save and accumulate money to get started, you probably don't have the character and discipline to succeed once your business gets going. A second source of money is to sell some assets. You can raise money this way. You can sell your house, which I have had to do, your car, which I had to do, your motorhome, and some of your furniture, which I had to do as well. You can sell everything that you own. You can cash in your life insurance for its cash value, which I had to do. Sometimes you can sell stocks, bonds, or securities, or liquidate your retirement account to get the cash you need to start your own business, all of which I had to do in the past. Most people who start a business for the first time end up selling everything they have to get enough money for their own business. Number 3, use your credit cards. Another source of money that you can tap into to start or build your business is credit cards. Many of the most successful U.S. businesses were started by people who took out as many credit cards as possible while they were working and possessed a solid credit rating, and then borrowed against and lived off those credit cards for 2 or 3 years until their businesses became profitable. A friend of mine, working for a Fortune 500 company, worked his credit rating up to $50,000 worth of cash value on his credit cards before he resigned his job. He was then able to start his business and eventually break through to financial independence on credit card cash. Now, this is not a great strategy, nor is it a recommendation. Credit card cash is very expensive, sometimes charging 18% interest per year or more. But if it makes the difference between going broke and staying in business long enough to turn the corner, it's an increasingly common way for entrepreneurs to launch their businesses or to keep them going. Number 4, take out personal loans. These are loans that are made to you on the basis of your job, your past credit rating, and your character. Sometimes you can get a personal line of credit from the bank based on your assets. You can then use this line of credit to underwrite your business until you achieve sufficient sales and profitability. It's essential that you build up a good credit rating and that you maintain that rating. If you're thinking of starting a business in the future, it's a wise idea for you to begin borrowing and repaying loans from your bank so that the bankers become familiar with your trustworthiness. Remember, the goal of the loan officer or the bank manager is to make good loans that are paid back promptly with interest. When you can convince bank officers that you are a dependable borrower, they will loan you all the money that they feel that you can properly service and repay. But you must have a credit rating to start with. A friend of mine prided himself on paying for everything in cash. He had no loans and no credit cards and never used banks for financing purchases of any kind. When he decided to start his own business, even though he had accumulated substantial assets and was creditworthy in every respect, no bank would lend him any money because he had no borrowing history. A basic rule for building up bank credit is to borrow big and pay back early. If necessary, get someone with a high degree of creditworthiness to co-sign a loan with you. Then pay it back well in advance of the due date. After you've done this a couple of times, you'll have your own credit rating and you'll be able to borrow money without a cosigner. You should go through this exercise of building up your creditworthiness while you have a full-time job and well before you start your own business. Number 5, borrow against collateral. You can borrow money by taking out what is called a collateral loan. You can borrow against something you own. You can borrow against your car, which I have done, your furniture, your boat, or your motorhome. You can even borrow against your house, which I have done. Many businesses have been started by the business owner mortgaging, financing, or borrowing against everything he or she owns. Number 6, you can acquire love money. The basic source of most new business financing, probably 99%, is what is called love money. Love money is money that people give or lend to you because they love you. This is money from friends, relatives, business associates, your parents, and so on. New business startups are extremely risky, and banks are not in the business of taking risks. They're in the business of avoiding risks. For this reason, very few banks will ever lend to a person starting a business unless they are convinced that that person has sufficient funds and collateral to repay the loan, even if the business is a failure. The only people who will take a risk with a new business are the people who love you. They will advance you the money because they believe in you and they're hoping for the best. Number 7, get a business loan. Take out a business loan. Business loans require a liquid asset coverage of at least $2 for every $1 that you wish to borrow. Business loans also require a minimum of 1 to 2 years of successful business history. To borrow money for your business, you will need up-to-date financial statements, plus personal guarantees that cover everything that you own or ever will own. Many people will tell you not to give personal guarantees when you take out a loan for your business. This is silly. Before banks will lend you money for your business, they will want personal guarantees not only for you, but also from your spouse and often from your parents. Banks are not in the business of taking risks. There are 5 factors that banks look for before making a loan to you or to any business person. These are called the 5 C's of lending or borrowing. You must be prepared to demonstrate all 5 when you approach a bank for a loan. Number 1, collateral. First, banks look for collateral. What assets are you going to put up to cover the loan? Collateral is something that can be sold for cash fairly quickly to repay the bank in case your business is not successful. 2 is character. Banks look for character. What is your previous track record with regard to loans? What kind of character do you have in terms of honesty and dependability? Who knows you? Who will vouch for you? The third C is credit rating. Banks look at your current credit rating. How much money have you borrowed and repaid in the past? How good is your credit history today? Some years ago, as a small business owner, I made a 20% deposit on a new home purchase and applied for a mortgage for the balance. This is usually a standard loan and easily approved. But A few years before, while I was out of town for several weeks, a credit card bill had arrived in the mail and had not been paid until after the 30-day deadline. This black mark went onto my credit rating and caused my mortgage loan application to be rejected several years later. My point is that your credit rating is a very precious thing that follows you wherever you go. I've known many people whose entire adult lives have been ruined because they have been sloppy or indifferent with their credit. They have failed to make credit card payments, car payments, utility payments, or rent payments when they were due. In one or more of these cases, they have been reported to a national credit bureau. This negative credit rating has then dogged them for as long as 10 years, wherever they went, anywhere in the country. Don't let this happen to you. The fourth C is capital. Banks want to know the amount of capital you have. How much of your own money are you willing to invest? This is a measure of how deeply committed you are to the success of the enterprise. And finally, the fifth C is confidence. The last factor that banks use to determine whether to lend you money is their level of confidence in you. In the final analysis, the individual banker must have confidence that you are the kind of person who is going to succeed in the business that he or she is lending you money to start or build. Borrowing money from banks is a progressive series of financial transactions that develop over time. When you first attempt to borrow money, most banks will want as much as $5 worth of collateral, personal investments, and other assets for every $1 that they will lend you. They will also want personal guarantees that extend beyond bankruptcy should you declare it. But after a bank has several years of experience with you and comes to know you and trust you, its lending requirements decline step by step. After 5 years of successfully borrowing and repaying money from the bank, its requirements for cash, collateral, assets, and even personal guarantees will drop off. The bank officers will be content for you to pledge the cash flow and the assets of your business to support the loans that you are taking out from them. At a certain point, they will even come to you and offer to lend you more money to expand your business or to make other investments. I've had this experience several times, and it was a real pleasure to see the bankers sitting there offering to lend me money and encouraging me to expand. Number 8 way to get the money you need is to lease or rent. This is another way you can finance your business as a result of leasing. Instead of paying cash for cars, furniture, buildings, or office equipment, you can make monthly payments by renting or leasing them month by month and year by year. This is a prudent way to get started, especially since your sales and cash flow are often unpredictable in the early stages of your business. During the dot-com boom in Silicon Valley and throughout the United States in the late 1990s, many inexperienced business people were able to raise large quantities of venture capital on the basis of sketchy business plans. They then made the mistake of sinking huge amounts of cash into beautiful office buildings, expensive furniture, imported automobiles, airplanes, and Super Bowl ads. Inevitably, they ran out of cash and were unable to borrow more. As a result, their businesses quickly collapsed, and the investors lost everything. Whenever possible, lease or rent rather than buying. Number 9, you can bootstrap your way to success. An excellent way to finance and build your business, and one of the most popular and effective strategies in business, is called bootstrapping, as we talked about before. Bootstrapping requires that you start small, generate sales and profits, reinvest your profits back into your business, and then make more sales, and repeat the process. Thousands of men and women who are today millionaires and multimillionaires began with little or no money and built their fortunes $1 at a time through bootstrapping. Even though you start more slowly with bootstrapping, there are certain distinct advantages of this process that make it superior in many cases to starting off with a lot of money. When you're forced to bootstrap and to build your business slowly, you have to replace money and investment with hard work and creativity. You have to work with what you have, right where you are. Because you have so little money, you cannot afford to make mistakes. This makes you sharper and quicker than people who have the luxury of too much money in the bank to fall back on. Remember what happened to the dot-com millionaires, many of whom are at home living with their parents today. Many businesses that start with too much money get into trouble quickly because they have not learned how to handle the money. When you bootstrap, you remain conscious and aware of every dollar that comes into or out of your business. You get smarter at a faster rate than other people. As you build your business out of your own sales and cash flow, you're much more likely to create a business that lasts for years on a solid foundation. Number 11, use customer financing. You can finance your business by using what is called customer financing. With this method, your customers give you the money that you need to produce the goods and services that you sell to them for the money that they've already paid you in advance. Ross Perot, who is today a multi-billionaire, as we talked about earlier, started EDP Industries with $1,000 borrowed from his mother, love money. After dozens of sales calls, he finally found one customer who would buy into his idea of handling all the data management services of the customer's corporation. Perot talked his first customer into paying 50% of the fees in advance so that Perot could afford to purchase the computer equipment and deliver the services in the first place. The rest is history. Many businesses will request a 50% deposit on an order when they make the sale. With this money, they will then buy the raw materials and pay for the labor to produce the product that they have sold. Their profit is contained in the other 50% that they collect upon successful delivery of the product or service. Many companies use customer financing to get started. They make the sale and ask the customer to pay for all or part of the order when the order is placed. If this is not possible, they get the customer to agree to pay upon delivery of the order rather than waiting 30, 60, or 90 days. They then take this money and pay their suppliers. This is often called kiting and is very common in small businesses. You arrange 30 or 60-day credit terms from your suppliers. You sell the product, get paid for it, and then turn around and pay your supplier before the bill becomes due. In this way, you have no capital of your own tied up. By selling a product, receiving payment, and then paying your supplier, you can actually be in business with little or no cash investment or exposure. Another way of customer financing is the sale of newsletters, seminars, and subscriptions of any kind. The customers pay for the product or service in advance prior to delivery. With a subscription, customers pay for the entire year of the product prior to receiving the first issue. Direct mail marketing is another form of customer financing. Your upfront investment is in the advertising, but then you take the orders before you fill them and deliver the product. You actually receive the money by cash or credit card before you have to purchase and deliver the product or service. Your customers are actually paying for the business as you go along. You can use customer financing by licensing the right to manufacture a product that you own or control in exchange for a royalty or fee. You can use customer financing in consulting. Many small businesses start with a person who has expert knowledge in a particular area. He or she goes out and offers his or her services as a consultant on what is called a retainer basis. On this basis, clients pay you a monthly retainer to work with them for a certain number of days or hours each month. In exchange, they give you progress payments, usually on the first of the month. If you are working on a consulting basis for several days or weeks, you can bill the customer as you go along on a weekly or monthly basis. In this way, the customer finances your operations. Multi-level marketing is another way of customer financing. In multi-level marketing, all you require is a sample kit to get started. After demonstrating the samples, you can take orders and collect payment. You can then buy the products from the manufacturer, deliver the orders, and keep the profits. Many companies use banks to factor their purchase orders from their customers. Especially if you receive an order from a large company with a good reputation, the purchase order is a guarantee to pay if and when you deliver the product or service that you have sold. Because of the creditworthiness of your customer, banks will lend you 70% or 80% of the face value of the purchase order. They will then charge you interest on the loan for carrying the balance between the time that they give you the money and the time at which you collect the money from your customer and repay the bank. Customer financing is a popular way of raising capital that you see being used around you all the time. For example, franchising is a form of customer financing. The franchisor expands the business by selling the right to use his business system and name in another market area. The franchisee pays a franchise fee that provides the money necessary to support the newly franchised business. McDonald's now has 40,000 franchises worldwide based on this concept of customer financing. Number 12, seek venture capital. Some companies are financed by venture capital. This is sophisticated money managed by experienced people that is pooled as high-risk capital to invest in potentially fast-growth companies. This type of money is well known but very hard to get a hold of. Many young entrepreneurs try to raise venture capital to start their businesses. They are absolutely amazed at how difficult this is. Fewer than 1% of business proposals received by venture capitalists are ever funded because new businesses are so risky. Fully 99% of all business plans and proposals submitted to venture capitalists are eventually thrown in the wastebasket. Venture capitalists are not in the business of losing money for their clients. Venture capitalists will invest in a business today only when it has three things going for it. First, it has to have a proven success record. The business has to have been in operation successfully for at least 2 years. At this stage, the business owner approaches venture capitalists for money to expand the business to take advantage of larger market opportunities. Second, the entrepreneur or business owner must submit a complete business plan. A complete business plan may take anywhere from 2 to 6 months to produce and may require from 100 to 300 hours and may cost anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 to have it done by an outside consultant. The venture capitalist will not even talk to a person without a complete, detailed business plan that the entrepreneur thoroughly understands and can explain, page for page, number for number. The third ingredient, and often the most important factor that venture capitalists look for before they will invest in your company, is a competent management team in place. Venture capitalists today look more closely at the experience of the managers of the company than any other factor when making a decision to lend money. If for any reason you do not have a proven success record of building and operating a profitable business, plus a complete business plan explaining exactly why you want the money and what you intend to do with it, as well as a competent, proven management team in place, it's better to look for other sources of capital than from venture capitalists. It will simply be an exercise in frustration. Number 13. You can often tap into the Small Business Administration, the SBA. The SBA will look at business plans as what is called a lender of last resort. This means that it will consider your business plan and your loan application only when you have been turned down or rejected by at least 2 other banks or financial institutions. The good news is that because the SBA is a government organization, even if it will not approve your loan, the staff will help you to operate your business more successfully. They will provide you with consulting services at low cost and sometimes for free. The SBA also has publications, books, pamphlets, and so on that can help you in your marketing, financing, selling, other aspects of your business. Many small and medium-sized companies have been saved or turned around by the Small Business Administration. Number 14. Seek funding from small business investment companies. You can sometimes raise money through these companies called SBICs. They are risk groups that put together pools of money to invest in small, up-and-coming companies. They are similar to venture capital groups in that they require some kind of a track record before they will invest with you. Both venture capital suppliers and small business investment companies will require equity in your company. Very often, they will require controlling equity, 51% or more of the stock in your business, before they will invest. If you do not perform and generate the profits that you promised, they want to be in a position to take over your company, replace you with competent management, and recover their investment. Number 15, you can obtain supplier financing. This is the flip side of customer financing. You can raise cash for your business with what is called supplier financing. Many companies that supply you with goods and services to sell to your customers will offer you delayed billing if you ask for it. If you have a good track record and credit rating with your suppliers, they will often be willing to wait 60 or 90 days for payment. This gives you an opportunity to purchase products and services, even raw materials from your suppliers to produce the goods and services that you have sold to your customers, and then to get paid for them, all before payment is due to your suppliers. With good credit, a person can start a business, make sales, fulfill the sales, and make profits long before having to pay for the products or services that have already been sold. The ability to do this depends very much on your character, your reputation, your credit rating, and the confidence that your supplier has in you and your ability to pay. Here's an important note. Smaller or newer companies are more likely to offer you credit terms than larger companies. Smaller or newer companies are often easier to deal with because they are hungry and they're eager for the business. The key to getting generous credit terms from your suppliers is for you to go and visit them personally. Sell the sales or the credit manager on you and on your reason for requiring credit. Take along your financial statement. Show your business plan. Explain what you are doing, and very often your suppliers will extend you credit and help you to build your business. In a famous story, Victor Kiam purchased Remington Products, a $150 million company, with almost 100% financing by the owners. The people who wanted to sell the company structured the deal in such a way that they financed almost the entire purchase. They received their money back later out of the cash flow and profits of the company. You can do this sort of thing as well. There are two other factors that influence whether you can or should get financing for your business. The first is the type of business or industry that you are going into. If you're going into a business that is largely a cash business, it's going to be hard for you to raise long-term financing. Suppliers of capital will expect you to collect and repay them immediately as you sell. The second factor that will influence whether you can or should get financing is the geographic area that you are operating in. Some parts of the city, county, state, or country are easier places to borrow money for expansion than others. In some fast-growing areas, banks and other financial institutions are very open to lending you money. In other areas, they will be very cautious and will often not lend you money at all, no matter how good your business plan. What kind of business should you think of going into? The very best way to answer this question is for you to do your homework in advance. According to Inc. magazine, the fastest-growing businesses in the United States by sector are service businesses of all kinds, 47%, 23% of the fast-growing businesses are in manufacturing, 15% are in distribution, 8% are in retail, and 7% are in construction. By industry, 29% of the fastest-growing businesses are computer-related or high-tech businesses. 17% are in business services. 14% are in consumer goods. 8% are in construction. 7% are in industrial equipment. 4% are in publishing and media. And 3% are in telecommunications. And the final 3% are in medical and pharmaceutical goods. These numbers change every year. Now, it's important that you know these percentages because banks and lending officers study them carefully when deciding whether to lend to a particular business. It's also important that you know these statistics when you decide what kind of a business to go into yourself. Service businesses, computer-related businesses, and business services, especially internet business services, are the most successful and fastest-growing businesses in the United States. Please note that these percentages are continually changing, so check your local statistics and keep your numbers current. The percentages of the best and fastest-growing businesses will be different from state to state, from city to city, and from one part of the country to another. The fact is that you can make more progress in a shorter period of time in a rapidly growing industry in a rapidly growing part of the country than you could working your entire lifetime in a part of the country or an industry that is declining and losing either population or market share. In a fast-growing area or a fast-growing industry, if you have the desire and determination behind an idea to fill a need, You can and will find the money you need to get started. You can start small and grow your business as you accumulate experience and cash flow. You can start by borrowing on your credit cards, your life insurance, and your personal possessions. You can borrow from your friends and relatives. You can even borrow from your current employer or your future customers. You can save your money through hard work and sacrifice to build up a nest egg. You can take the extra time to study and learn more about your business. Thousands of the most successful businesses were started on a shoestring, often in a garage, with the major investment being the time and energy of the founder. Whatever others have done within reason, you can do as well starting today. The only questions you have to answer are, how badly do you want it, and are you willing to pay the price? If you want to start and build your own successful business long enough and hard enough, and you're willing to pay the price in advance to achieve success, nothing will stop you as long as you refuse to make excuses for not moving ahead. Now, here are 3 ideas or action recommendations for you. Number 1, determine exactly how much money you will need to start and build your own successful business, to launch new products, and to expand your operations. You must be clear and accurate. Number 2, decide on one or more methods of financing your business and begin using the magic word for business success: ask. Remember, before you ask, the answer is always no. If after you ask the answer is still no, you've only lost a few seconds of your life. You have nothing to lose by asking. And number 3, begin building up a solid credit rating by borrowing and repaying early. Visit and get to know your bank manager. Build your reputation for character and competence before you need it.